Jake Morrison stood in front of the holding cell and stared at the creature inside. The dragon was curled up in the corner, looking smaller than Jake expected. Its scales were dark purple and black like oil floating on water. The dragon looked thin and sick. "That's the Voidborn," said Vexer, Jake's boss. Vexer was an alien with 4 arms and a face like an insect. He made a disgusted sound. "Nobody wants him. He's been here for 2 months." Jake pressed his hand against the clear wall. "Why doesn't anyone want him?" "He's cursed," Vexer said, his voice full of fear. Voidborn dragons are born in empty space between the stars. Every smart species in the galaxy knows they bring bad luck. Wherever they go, terrible things happen. Wars, sickness, death. They're omens of disaster. The dragon opened one eye. It was bright violet and looked directly at Jake. There was something smart in that look. Something sad, too. Jake felt his chest get tight. He knew what loneliness looked like. He'd been lonely since leaving Earth 5 years ago. "What happens if nobody takes him?" Jake asked quietly. Vexer didn't answer. He didn't need to. Jake understood perfectly. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about those violet eyes. He thought about how everyone on the station walked past that holding cell like it was invisible. The proud Kelvorians spit on the ground when they passed. The Mindweavers, who could read thoughts, blocked their minds like they were scared of getting infected. Even the kind Sylvari pretended the dragon didn't exist. By morning, Jake made his choice. He walked to the station administrator's office and filled out adoption papers. The administrator was an old cat-like alien named Lady Kresh. She looked at Jake like he'd lost his mind. "You cannot be serious, human," she said. Her cat ears lay flat against her head. "Do you know what you're doing? That creature is wrong. It shouldn't exist. He's alive and he hasn't hurt anyone," Jake said firmly, "and he's starving." "There are reasons our people have feared Voidborn for thousands of years," Lady Kresh insisted. "They appear when bad things happen. They bring destruction. Or maybe people abandon them when bad things happen," Jake said. "Maybe they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That doesn't make them evil." Lady Kresh's tail moved back and forth with anger, but she processed the papers anyway. An hour later, Jake stood in the holding cell as the barrier turned off. The dragon watched him but didn't move. "Hey," Jake said softly. He held out some food he'd brought. "I'm Jake, I know you understand me. Dragons are smart." The dragon's nose twitched, smelling the food. Slowly, very slowly, he uncurled and crawled forward. He moved like he expected to get hit at any moment. When the dragon finally took the food from Jake's hand, his scales rippled like water. As he ate, Jake saw the scars. There were so many scars on the dragon's body. Some were old, some were fresh. "Who hurt you?" Jake whispered. The dragon looked at him with those violet eyes, and Jake thought he saw tears forming. Walking through the station with the dragon was the hardest thing Jake ever did. Every hallway they went through emptied immediately. Parents grabbed their children and ran. Shop owners locked their doors. Someone hit the emergency alarm, and security guards appeared with weapons. They only backed off when they saw Jake's legal adoption papers. Near the center of the station, a group of Kelvorian warriors blocked their path. Their leader, a scarred fighter named Torvik, pointed at the dragon with hate in his eyes. "That thing killed my brother," Torvik said angrily. "A Voidborn appeared in our system the day the plague came. My brother died with millions of others." "I'm sorry about your brother," Jake said carefully. He stood between Torvik and the dragon, but this dragon didn't cause any plague. He wasn't even born yet. "They're all the same," another Kelvorian shouted. "They bring death." The dragon tried to make himself smaller behind Jake. He was shaking with fear. "Look at him," Jake said loudly. "Does he look dangerous? He's been beaten and starved for something he never did. You're blaming him for coincidence and old stories." Station security came and made the crowd leave, but Jake felt the hatred following them all the way to his apartment. When his door finally closed behind them, both Jake and the dragon breathed easier. Jake's apartment was small, just a bedroom, bathroom, and a living space with a kitchen, but it was private and safe. The dragon immediately went to a corner and curled up, watching Jake with worried eyes. "You can relax," Jake said. "Nobody will hurt you here. I promise." It took 3 days before the dragon stopped flinching when Jake moved. It took a week before he would eat with Jake in the room. But slowly, trust started to grow. Jake learned the dragon could send feelings and simple ideas into his mind. It wasn't words, but Jake could understand emotions and images. The dragon shared memories of being born alone in the cold darkness between stars. He remembered finding his way to civilization and hoping someone would accept him. Instead, he found only fear and anger. Every station and every planet rejected him. Some tried to kill him. Others locked him in cages and forgot about him. The dragon had been moved from place to place for almost 2 years. Nobody ever kept him long enough to see him as anything but a cursed void-born. Not anymore, Jake said, scratching under the dragon's chin. The dragon liked that. You have a home now. You have me. Jake named him Nightshade because of his dark purple and black coloring. Nightshade seemed to like the name. His scales turned a warm color when Jake said it. The first month was hard. Nightshade had nightmares. Jake would wake up in the middle of the night and find the dragon thrashing and making scared sounds in his sleep. The dragon's scales would be hot like fire. It's okay, Jake would say softly, approaching slowly. You're safe. Nobody can hurt you here. When Nightshade woke up from the nightmares, his eyes would be full of shame. Stop that, Jake would tell him firmly. What happened to you wasn't your fault. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Jake's life at work got harder. His boss gave him the worst jobs and the most dangerous shifts. Other workers refused to be near him because they said it wasn't safe. Vexor made it clear that having a Voidborn on the station was causing problems. 3 ships changed their docking requests. Vexor told Jake angrily. 2 merchants complained. The Mindweaver group is threatening to leave early, all because of your pet. His name is Nightshade, Jake said. And he hasn't done anything wrong. His existence is the problem, Vexor snapped. You humans think you know better than everyone. Our civilizations are thousands of years old. Maybe we know things you don't. Maybe your civilizations have been wrong for thousands of years, Jake shot back. Maybe nobody ever questioned it. Despite all the problems, Jake saw Nightshade changing. The dragon was gaining weight. His scales got shinier and brighter. The purple and black colors now had blue in them that caught the light. Nightshade was also getting bigger. More important, Nightshade was showing personality. He was curious about everything in Jake's apartment. He figured out how to use the entertainment screen and loved watching nature shows about Earth. He especially liked shows about oceans. He would watch with complete focus, his scales changing colors to match the water on the screen. You like the ocean? Jake asked one evening while they watched dolphins swimming. The dragon sent a feeling of longing and belonging. The void where he was born was huge and dark and empty. The ocean was huge too, but full of life. Maybe it reminded him of what the void could have been. Maybe someday we can visit Earth, Jake said. I can show you the Pacific Ocean. It's massive. You'd love it. Nightshade's scales got brighter and seemed to glow with happiness at the idea. Jake woke up to find Nightshade having another nightmare. The dragon was thrashing in his corner, making small, scared sounds. His scales were hot enough that Jake could feel the heat from across the room. This was the 3rd nightmare this week. Hey, it's okay, Jake said softly, walking slowly toward Nightshade. You're safe now. Nobody can hurt you. The dragon's violet eyes opened suddenly. For a moment, he didn't recognize where he was. Then he saw Jake in the apartment and his whole body relaxed. But his scales showed shame. Deep blue and gray colors that Jake had learned meant the dragon felt bad about himself. Stop feeling guilty, Jake said firmly, sitting down next to Nightshade. What those people did to you was wrong. The nightmares aren't your fault. Nightshade pressed his snout into Jake's hand. Through their mental connection, Jake felt waves of gratitude mixed with sadness. The dragon still couldn't believe someone actually cared about him. Work was getting worse for Jake. His supervisor, Vexor, kept giving him the most dangerous jobs. Loading radioactive cargo, working in sections with bad life support, tasks that other workers refused to do. Jake knew Vexor was trying to make him quit, maybe trying to make him give up Nightshade. You can't keep bringing that curse onto this station, Vexor said during another angry meeting. 3 more ships requested different docking bays. The merchants are losing business. People are scared. Nightshade hasn't done anything to anyone, Jake argued. He stays in my quarters. He doesn't bother anyone. He exists, Vexor said, his forearms crossing. That's enough. Your people are new to space, human. You don't understand. Voidborn dragons are dangerous. Our ancestors knew this. Why do you think you know better? Because I actually know Nightshade, Jake said. You're all judging him based on stories. I judge him based on who he actually is. Other workers started avoiding Jake completely. Nobody would sit with him during breaks. Nobody would help him with heavy cargo anymore. He was being punished for choosing to care about someone the galaxy had decided to hate. But at home, things were getting better. Nightshade was growing more confident each day. The dragon had figured out how to operate the food processor and accidentally ordered 50 servings of vanilla pudding one morning. Jake came out of the shower to find Nightshade surrounded by pudding cups, looking very pleased with himself. "You're going to make yourself sick," Jake said, but he was laughing. "Although I have to admit you have good taste." They spent the morning eating pudding together. Nightshade's scales turned bright, happy colors, golden, light purple, and soft blue. It was the first time Jake had seen the dragon look truly joyful. Nightshade also loved Earth documentaries. He watched them constantly. Shows about forests, mountains, rivers, and especially oceans. The dragon would sit in front of the screen for hours, completely absorbed. Jake realized Nightshade was learning about Earth, memorizing it. "You really want to go there, don't you?" Jake asked one evening. Nightshade sent a powerful feeling of yes through their connection. Earth looked alive in a way the cold stations and dead planets weren't. The dragon longed to see it in person. "We'll get there someday," Jake promised. "I don't know how yet, but we will." Everything changed when 3 human traders arrived on Starshelter station. Jake was getting dinner at the food court when he heard loud Earth accents. He turned and saw a group of humans at a table, telling stories to anyone who would listen. The leader was a big man with a red face and expensive clothes. He noticed Jake staring. "Hey, another human? Come join us. I'm Randy Cooper. These are Lisa Grant and Patrick Hayes. We're traders from the Orion Arm." Jake walked over carefully. It had been months since he'd talked to other humans. "Jake Morrison. I work cargo here." "Cargo work?" Randy laughed. "That's no job for a human. We're explorers. The galaxy is ours for the taking." He leaned closer. "Hey, we heard a crazy rumor. Something about a human adopting a void-born dragon. That's not you, is it?" Jake's face must have shown the answer, because Randy's eyes got wide. "It is you. Are you insane? Do you know what those things are worth?" "Worth?" Jake repeated, confused. Lisa leaned forward with greedy eyes. "Void-born dragon scales are incredibly rare. People pay fortunes for them. Their bones are used in medicine. Their blood has special properties. A full-grown void-born could sell for enough money to buy a moon." Jake felt sick to his stomach. "He's not for sale." "Everything's for sale," Patrick said with a mean smile. "Come on, Morrison. You're working cargo on a nothing station. We're talking about enough money to set you up for life. You could go back to Earth and never work again." "I said no," Jake repeated, standing up. "Nightshade is my friend, not a thing to sell." Randy's friendly look disappeared. "Friend? It's an animal." "A cursed animal. You're throwing away a fortune for feelings." "This conversation is over," Jake said, turning to leave. 10 million credits, Randy called after him. "Final offer." Jake kept walking, but his head was spinning. 10 million credits. That was more money than he could imagine. He could pay off his family's debts on Earth, help his brother go to college, give his parents a comfortable retirement. He could stop working the terrible shifts that were destroying his body. When he got back to his apartment, Nightshade immediately sensed something was wrong. The dragon came over and pressed his nose against Jake's hand, worried. "Some humans offered to buy you," Jake said quietly. "A lot of money." Nightshade's scales flickered through many colors quickly. Fear, acceptance, and then deep sadness. The dragon pulled away and curled up in his corner with his back to Jake. The message was clear. Nightshade had been betrayed before. He expected Jake to betray him too. "No, wait," Jake said, kneeling beside Nightshade. "I told them no. I'm not selling you. You're not property." The dragon turned his head slightly. One violet eye looked at Jake. Through their connection, Jake felt a question being asked. Why would Jake give up so much money? "Because you're my friend," Jake said simply. "Everyone else gave up on you. I won't. You deserve better than being treated like an object, and no amount of money is worth betraying someone who trusts me." Nightshade's scales changed to a warm gold color Jake had never seen before. The dragon uncurled and pressed his head against Jake's chest. A deep rumbling sound came from his throat. Jake realized the dragon was purring like a giant cat. They stayed like that for a long time, human and dragon, friend and friend. The next morning, Randy Cooper was waiting outside Jake's apartment. His friendly act was gone. Now he just looked cold and angry. "Reconsider," Randy said. "It wasn't a request. That dragon is wasted on you. We have buyers ready to pay." "You're being selfish, Morrison. Think about what you could do with that money. I thought about it, Jake replied. My answer is still no. Randy's face got hard. You're making a mistake. People who get between traders and profit have accidents. Station life is dangerous. Lots of things can go wrong. Are you threatening me? Jake asked, his voice low and dangerous. I'm warning you, Randy said. One way or another, we're leaving with that dragon. You can sell him to us the easy way. The hard way won't be fun for anyone. Randy walked away before Jake could respond. Jake stood in the hallway feeling scared. He'd made powerful enemies. On a station where most people already hated him, he had nobody to help. That night, Jake started teaching Nightshade to defend himself. The dragon was gentle, but Jake knew they might not have a choice. If Randy and his crew came for them, they needed to be ready. I know you don't like violence, Jake said as they practiced in an empty cargo bay during his night shift. But sometimes we have to fight to protect ourselves. Can you do that if you need to? Nightshade's scales showed uncertainty, but the dragon nodded. Those violet eyes held new determination. He'd been a victim for too long. Never again. 3 days after Randy threatened him, strange things started happening to Jake. His security codes stopped working. Half the station was suddenly off limits to him. His paycheck didn't arrive because of computer errors. Then his apartment had a sudden pressure failure that destroyed most of his belongings. Luckily, he and Nightshade were out at the time. These aren't accidents, Jake told Lady Kresh when he demanded a meeting. Randy Cooper is doing this. He wants Nightshade and he's trying to force me to give him up. The old cat-like administrator's ears flattened. Those are serious accusations, Morrison. The Coopers are licensed traders with clean records. Where is your proof? They threatened me, Jake insisted. They said they get Nightshade one way or another. Your word against theirs, Lady Kresh said dismissively. I cannot act without evidence. Perhaps these incidents are the universe telling you that keeping a Voidborn brings misfortune, just as the old teachings say. Jake left her office angry and scared. He was alone. Randy was destroying Jake's life piece by piece, making it impossible to work or live normally. Eventually, Jake would have to choose. Give up Nightshade or leave the station. But where could they go? Every civilized planet in the galaxy feared Voidborn dragons. Starshelter was one of the few places that even tolerated Nightshade. Anywhere else might be worse. That evening, someone unexpected came to Jake's apartment. A young silvery woman named Iris slipped inside when his door opened. Her skin glowed with soft blue light and her large eyes showed real concern. The Silvari were usually kind people, but they'd refused to help Nightshade before. I shouldn't be here, Iris said quietly. My people forbid contact with you, but I had to warn you. Warn me about what? Jake asked. Nightshade watched from his corner, curious but wary. Randy Cooper has been meeting with the Kelvorian warriors, Iris explained. He's telling them that Nightshade plans to have babies. That soon there will be many Voidborn on the station. He's making people scared and angry. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. That's a lie. Nightshade is barely an adult. And even if he wanted babies, he'd need a mate. There are no other Voidborn dragons anywhere near here. Truth doesn't matter when people are afraid, Iris said sadly. The Kelvorians are organizing. They plan to attack your apartment and kill Nightshade. They're calling it protection against a future threat. When? Jake demanded. Tonight, during the third shift when there aren't many security guards. Jake stood up quickly, his mind racing. Why are you telling me this? You're risking a lot, Iris's glow flickered. Because I've been watching you and Nightshade for weeks. The way you care for him and protect him. My people claim to be compassionate, but we turned our backs on a suffering creature because of superstition. You showed us what real compassion looks like. A human had to teach us that lesson, and I'm ashamed. Thank you, Jake said sincerely. But I don't know what to do. If I try to leave the station, Cooper's people will stop me. If I stay, the Kelvorians will attack. There might be another way, Iris said carefully. Do you know about the old maintenance tunnels under the station? They were built when Starshelter was first made, but they're mostly abandoned now. Some lead to forgotten docking bays that nobody monitors. Hope sparked in Jake's chest. Can you show us? Iris nodded. We need to leave now. Once the Kelvorians start moving, it'll be too late. Jake quickly grabbed what little he had left. Some clothes, a datapad with pictures of Earth, and a toy Nightshade liked. The dragon sensed the urgency and stayed quiet. His scales turned almost black, like he was trying to become invisible. You're doing great, Jake whispered, scratching behind Nightshade's ears. Just a little further. Iris led them through empty corridors, avoiding the main paths. Twice they had to hide when groups of armed Kelvorians walked past. The warriors looked angry and ready for violence. Nightshade pressed close to Jake, shaking but silent. The entrance to the maintenance tunnels was hidden behind a broken waste processor. Iris pulled open an access panel, showing a dark shaft going down. "I can't go further," Iris said. "People will notice I'm gone soon. Follow the main tunnel for about 2 kilometers. You'll reach a junction with yellow markings. Take the right passage. It leads to Bay 47, which hasn't been used in years. There's a small shuttle there. It's abandoned but might still work." "Why are you doing all this?" Jake asked again. Iris reached out and gently touched Nightshade's nose. The dragon didn't pull away. He could feel her good intentions. "Because mercy should be for everyone, not just who we choose. May the stars guide you, Jake Morrison, and may you prove the galaxy wrong about void-born dragons." She disappeared back into the station before Jake could thank her. He looked at Nightshade. "Ready for an adventure?" The dragon's scales flickered with nervous determination. Together they went down into the darkness. The maintenance tunnels were cramped and wet. The lights were very dim, barely working after years of neglect. Jake used his data pad as a flashlight, carefully walking on the rusty metal paths. Nightshade moved gracefully despite his size, his claws gripping surfaces that made Jake slip. They'd been walking for maybe 20 minutes when Jake heard voices behind them. His blood went cold when he recognized Randy Cooper's voice. "They came this way. I saw the Silvari leading them here. Check every tunnel. How did he know?" Jake whispered. Nightshade sent a surge of anger through their connection. The dragon understood what Jake was realizing. They'd been betrayed. Either Iris was forced to tell their escape route or Randy had been watching them all along. "We need to move faster," Jake said, starting to jog. Nightshade kept pace easily with his 4 legs. The tunnel seemed endless. Jake's lungs burned and his legs hurt, but he kept going. Behind them, the voices got closer. Randy had brought help, and their footsteps echoed like thunder. Finally, Jake saw the yellow markings Iris mentioned. They took the right passage and found themselves in a huge chamber that used to be a docking bay. Dust covered everything and the air tasted stale. But there in the center was a shuttle. It was small and old, clearly a personal transport from decades ago. The hull was damaged and one landing leg was bent, but the power core still glowed faintly through the windows. "Please work," Jake prayed as he ran toward it. "Please, please work." Nightshade reached the shuttle first and started examining it carefully. The dragon's eyes glowed with violet light. Jake realized he was using some kind of special sense to check the ship's systems. The dragon sent a feeling through their bond. Damaged, but flyable. Jake had just reached the hatch when Randy Cooper and 6 others came out of the tunnel entrance. 3 humans, 2 Kelvorians, and a huge armored figure Jake didn't recognize. All of them had weapons. "End of the line, Morrison," Randy called out, his weapon pointed at Jake. "Step away from the shuttle and give us the dragon. Last chance." Jake moved between the group and Nightshade. "I'm not giving him to you." Randy sighed dramatically. "I tried to be nice. Take the dragon. Kill Morrison if he gets in the way." The group moved forward, weapons charging up. Jake knew he had seconds before they shot. Nightshade could probably survive the first shots because his scales were tough. But Jake wouldn't. The dragon realized this too and moved in front of Jake, spreading his wings to protect the human. "No," Jake said firmly. "I'm not hiding behind you." What happened next was fast. One of the Kelvorians fired. The energy bolt flew toward them. Nightshade's wings suddenly glowed with brilliant light, and the bolt bounced off harmlessly into the ceiling. The dragon roared, a sound that shook the entire chamber and spoke of the vast emptiness between stars. The attackers stumbled backward, temporarily blinded and deafened. Jake didn't waste time. He grabbed Nightshade's harness and pulled the dragon toward the shuttle's open door. "Go, go, go!" Jake shouted. They scrambled inside and Jake sealed the door behind them. The shuttle's interior was cramped and old, but the controls looked standard. Jake threw himself into the pilot's seat and started the systems. His hands flew over controls he hadn't used since training 5 years ago. Come on," he said as the systems slowly activated. Outside, Randy and his crew were shooting at the shuttle. The old shields held barely, but alarms were already screaming. Nightshade curled in the co-pilot space, his eyes wide with fear, but trusting Jake completely. The engines coughed, sputtered, and then roared. Jake didn't wait for a full check. He hit the thrusters and aimed for the bay's emergency exit. Huge doors that hadn't opened in years. "Hold on," Jake warned. The shuttle hit the doors at full speed. For a terrible moment, Jake thought they wouldn't open. Then with a scream of metal, the ancient doors broke. The shuttle burst into open space, spinning wildly. Jake fought the controls, stopping their spin just as Starshelter Station's defense systems activated. Warning signals flashed everywhere. The station was targeting them. "They're really going to shoot us," Jake said in disbelief. "Over a dragon they didn't even want." Nightshade focused on the shield controls. The dragon's eyes glowed, and suddenly the shuttle's shields got much stronger. Jake watched in amazement as their shield power jumped from 30% to almost 80%. "You can do that?" Jake asked, impressed. The dragon sent a feeling like a shrug. "Apparently, yes." The first week traveling through hyperspace was tense. Jake kept expecting pursuit ships to appear behind them with weapons ready. Every time a sensor beeped, his heart raced. But as days passed without attack, he started to hope they'd actually escaped. Nightshade was recovering slowly from using so much energy. The dragon spent most of his time sleeping. His scales were dull and his breathing was shallow. Jake researched everything he could find about void-born dragons on the shuttle's limited computer, looking for information about their abilities. What he found was mostly myths and old stories. Void-born dragons were so rare and so hated that actual science didn't exist. The few accounts he found mentioned their unique relationship with energy and space itself, but nothing specific. "You're full of surprises," Jake told the sleeping dragon. "I had no idea you could boost shields and the hyperdrive like that." Nightshade's scales changed colors in his sleep, cycling through different shades. Jake had learned to read these changes. Right now the dragon was dreaming. The gentle gold colors meant they were good dreams. Jake used the quiet time to send a message to his brother Kevin back on Earth. He encrypted it heavily and didn't give details. Just a warning that he was coming home and might be bringing trouble. He included a picture of Nightshade with the message saying, "This is why." 3 days later, Kevin's response arrived. "Mom's going to lose it when she sees you brought home a dragon. Dad will probably think it's awesome." "What did you get yourself into, Jake?" "Whatever it is, we've got your back. Family sticks together." Reading those words made Jake's eyes water. He hadn't realized how much he missed Earth until now. The thought of seeing his family again, walking on real ground instead of station floors, breathing real air instead of recycled atmosphere, it all seemed like a dream. Nightshade woke up on the 8th day with his energy back. The dragon immediately started exploring the tiny shuttle with renewed curiosity. He discovered the food processor and accidentally ordered 50 servings of vanilla pudding before Jake could stop him. They ate pudding for 3 meals in a row. "You're lucky you're cute," Jake said, watching the dragon eat his 20th cup of pudding. "Otherwise, I'd be annoyed." Nightshade's scales shimmered with playful colors Jake had never seen before. The dragon was developing a sense of humor, which was both sweet and scary. On the 10th day, they received a transmission. Jake felt cold dread when Randy Cooper's face appeared on the screen. "Thought you could run, Morrison?" Randy sneered. "We've been tracking your hyperspace signature. I had a little tracking device put in your jacket back on Starshelter. You're leading us right to wherever you're going." Jake frantically searched his clothes and found the tiny device in his jacket lining. He'd been betrayed from the very start. Randy had known about their escape before they even planned it. "We'll see you soon," Randy continued. "And when we do, I'm taking that dragon and leaving you dead. No more talking. This is personal now." The transmission ended. Jake stared at the tracking device in his hand, mind racing. If he destroyed it now, Randy would know they found it. But if he left it active, Randy would follow them to Earth and bring danger to Jake's family. Nightshade sensed his worry and pressed his nose into Jake's palm. Questioning. "Randy's been tracking us," Jake explained. "He knows where we're going." The dragon's scales shifted to angry red, a color Jake had never seen. Nightshade's eyes blazed with violet fire. The message was clear. "Let them come." "I appreciate the confidence," Jake said, "but Randy has guns, ships, and people. We have a broken shuttle and determination." Nightshade touched his nose to the tracking device in Jake's hand. The dragon's eyes glowed, and Jake felt energy pulse through their connection. When Nightshade pulled back, the tracking device was dead, completely fried. "That works too," Jake admitted. "But now Randy knows we found it. He'll come at us with everything." They spent the next 3 days preparing. Jake ran combat simulations on the shuttle's computer, teaching himself moves he'd never needed before. Nightshade practiced channeling his energy into the ship's systems better. learning to boost specific systems when needed. Most importantly, they talked. Through their limited mental connection and Jake's interpretations, they understood each other better. Jake learned that Nightshade's kind weren't just born in the void between stars. They were connected to it in fundamental ways. That connection gave them abilities other dragons didn't have, but also made them different in ways that frightened people. "You're not cursed," Jake told the dragon firmly. "You're just different. And different is good. Different makes you special." Nightshade's scales rippled with colors that showed gratitude and love. The dragon had never had someone tell him that being different was okay, let alone good. On day 16, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Jake stared at the familiar blue planet growing larger on their screens, and his throat got tight with emotion. "There it is," he whispered. "Home." Nightshade studied the planet with intense focus. Through their bond, Jake felt the dragon's wonder. Earth was beautiful in a way that cold space stations and dead planets could never be. It was alive in every way, but they weren't alone. 3 ships dropped out of hyperspace behind them. Randy Cooper's ship was in the lead. Jake's shuttle immediately got targeting locks. "This is Cooper," Randy's voice came over the radio. "Stand down, Morrison. You have nowhere left to run." Jake didn't respond. Instead, he pushed the shuttle's engines to maximum and dove toward Earth. They hit the atmosphere at a dangerously steep angle. The hull glowed red-hot from friction. Warning alarms screamed, but Jake held course. Nightshade wrapped himself around Jake's seat, using his body to absorb the worst of the heat and shaking. The dragon's scales glowed white-hot, but he didn't pull away. "I've got you," Jake assured him. "Just a little more." Cooper's ships followed them down, shooting as they fell. One shot hit their engine and the shuttle started spinning. Jake fought the controls desperately, trying to level out before they crashed. "Come on," Jake said through gritted teeth. "We didn't come this far to die now." Nightshade's eyes blazed, and suddenly the shuttle stabilized. The dragon was using his connection to space itself to control their path, helping Jake regain control. They burst through clouds over the Pacific Ocean, traveling at incredible speed. Jake aimed for the coordinates of his family's home in California, praying they could reach it before Randy shot them down. Another hit, this time to their side thruster. The shuttle jerked violently. They were losing height fast. The ocean rushed up to meet them. "Hold on," Jake shouted. They hit the water like a bomb, skipping twice before finally crashing into the waves. The impact knocked Jake senseless for a moment. When his vision cleared, the shuttle was sinking. Water poured in through many holes. "Out, out," Jake commanded, opening the hatch. Nightshade didn't need to be told twice. The dragon surged out into the ocean, his wings spreading wide. Jake grabbed onto Nightshade's harness as the shuttle disappeared into the depths. Above them, Cooper's ships were circling. But they were in Earth's atmosphere now, and that meant they were in Earth's territory. Jake's datapad, somehow still working, showed military aircraft scrambling to stop the unauthorized vessels. "Swim," Jake told Nightshade. "Head for shore." The dragon moved through the water with surprising grace. His powerful legs and tail pushed them toward land. Jake held onto his back, watching as fighter jets engaged Cooper's ships in the sky above. It took 20 minutes to reach the beach. Jake collapsed on the sand, exhausted and soaked. Nightshade stood over him protectively, watching the sky where explosions marked the aerial battle. A car skidded to a stop on the nearby road. Jake's brother Kevin jumped out, followed by their father Henry and their mother Claire. "Jake," Kevin shouted, running toward them. "We saw you crash." Wow, is that the dragon?" Nightshade growled, positioning himself between Jake and the approaching humans. The dragon's scales shifted to warning colors, red and orange flickering across his body. "It's okay," Jake called out weakly. "They're family. They're safe." Nightshade relaxed a little but didn't move away from Jake. Claire reached them first, dropping to her knees beside her son. "What happened to you?" she demanded, checking him for injuries like mothers do. "You look terrible." "And is that really a dragon?" "Jake Morrison, you have a lot of explaining to do." "Long story," Jake managed. "Short version is bad people want to kill my dragon friend for money, and I'm probably wanted by several governments now." "So typical Tuesday." Henry was staring at Nightshade with the wonder of someone who studied aliens for a living. "A void-born dragon," he breathed. "They actually exist. You know about void-born dragons?" Jake asked, surprised. "I'm a scientist who studies alien life," Henry replied. Of course I know about them. They're legendary. Most scientists think they're extinct or maybe never real at all. This is incredible. Above them, the battle was ending. Cooper's ships, outnumbered by Earth's defense forces, were retreating back into space. But Jake knew this wasn't over. Randy wouldn't give up easily. "We need to get you somewhere safe," Kevin said, helping Jake to his feet. "Both of you." Nightshade allowed the Morrison family to approach, sensing through his bond with Jake that these humans meant no harm. News of a human adopting a void-born dragon and bringing it to Earth spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within 2 days, Jake Morrison's face was on every news feed from the center of civilization to the outer edges. The footage of their dramatic escape from Starshelter Station had been leaked by someone, probably Randy Cooper trying to get support for his hunt. The galaxy's reaction was complicated. The Kelvorian Empire issued an official statement calling Jake a threat to civilized space and demanding his immediate arrest. The Mindweaver Collective published a paper claiming that contact with void-born dragons caused mental problems in humans, using Jake as their main example. The Quillen Trade Group put a bounty on Nightshade, dead or alive, for cosmic safety reasons. But there were also unexpected voices of support. The Sylvari released a statement questioning whether old superstition should matter more than compassion. A group of independent scientists started a petition calling for proper study of void-born dragons instead of blind fear. And most surprisingly, a young Kelvorian warrior named Vera posted a video that went viral. "I am Kelvorian," Vera said in the video, her face scarred from battles. "I was taught from birth to fear void-born dragons. But I watched footage of Jake Morrison risking his life to protect his friend. I saw a human show more honor than my entire warrior group. If this human trusts a voidborn, then perhaps we have been wrong for 3,000 years. Perhaps it is time to question our fear." The video was viewed 800 million times in the first day. The Kelvorian government tried to remove it, but it was too late. A conversation had started that couldn't be stopped. On Earth, Jake and his family were dealing with their own problems. The Morrison home, a modest ranch house in Northern California, had become the center of media attention. News crews camped outside. Government officials demanded interviews. Scientists begged for access to Nightshade. Henry Morrison, using his credentials as a respected scientist, managed to negotiate temporary protection. Earth's government agreed not to forcibly take Nightshade, while an independent group evaluated whether the dragon was dangerous. It wasn't perfect, but it bought them time. Nightshade adjusted to Earth with the enthusiasm of someone experiencing paradise for the first time. The dragon loved everything: the feel of grass under his claws, the smell of flowers, the taste of fresh fruit from the Morrison's orchard. But his favorite thing was the ocean. Every morning before sunrise, Jake and Nightshade would walk to a hidden beach Henry knew about. Nightshade would wade into the surf, his scales shimmering in the early light, and swim for hours. The dragon moved through water like he was born for it, diving deep and coming up with fish that he'd share with Jake. "You're happy here," Jake said one morning, watching Nightshade play in the waves. "Happier than I've ever seen you." The dragon sent pure joy through their bond. Earth wasn't the void between stars where Nightshade was born, but it was alive and welcoming in ways the cold vacuum never could be. This felt like home. Their peaceful routine was interrupted when Dr. Lisa Chen arrived with security guards. She was a stern woman in her 50s with graying hair and sharp eyes that noticed everything. "Mr. Morrison," she said formally, "I'm here to conduct the first evaluation of your companion." "His name is Nightshade," Jake replied, deliberately emphasizing that the dragon was a person, not a thing. "Yes, well," Dr. Chen said uncomfortably, "we need to establish whether Nightshade poses a threat to Earth's population. The assessment will take several days and will include physical examinations, behavior analysis, and thinking tests." Nightshade had come out of the ocean and now stood protectively beside Jake, water dripping from his scales. The dragon's eyes were fixed on Dr. Chen with an intensity that made her guards reach for their weapons. "He's not dangerous," Jake insisted. "He's never hurt anyone." "That may be true," Dr. Chen said, "but we need to verify it officially. The galactic community is watching. If we handle this wrong, there could be serious problems." The evaluation process was hard. Scientists poked Nightshade with instruments. They made him go through mazes, tested his problem-solving abilities, and watched his emotional responses to different things. Through it all, Nightshade endured with patient dignity, understanding that Jake's safety depended on him passing these tests. Dr. Chen, despite her initial doubt, found herself increasingly impressed. Nightshade showed intelligence equal to dolphins and great apes. His problem-solving showed creative thinking. Most importantly, every behavior test indicated a gentle, non-aggressive personality. This doesn't match the legends at all, Dr. Chen admitted to Jake after the third day. According to Galactic Stories, void-born dragons should be chaotic, dangerous, almost wild. But Nightshade is sweet. He's like an oversized puppy with cosmic powers. Maybe the legends were wrong, Jake suggested. Maybe void-born dragons act hostile because they're always treated with hostility. Nightshade is kind because someone finally showed him kindness. Dr. Chen looked thoughtful. You might be right. The psychological profile we're developing suggests significant past trauma. Those scars aren't just physical. He has behavior markers consistent with abuse victims. Hypervigilance, fear responses to sudden movements, difficulty trusting new people. Yet he trusts you completely. Why? Because I never gave him a reason not to, Jake said simply. The evaluation was interrupted on day 5 by an emergency. Randy Cooper had somehow gotten Earth's location and was approaching with small fleet of mercenary ships. Earth's defense forces scrambled, but Cooper broadcast a message before they could stop him. People of Earth, Randy's voice boomed across all channels. That dragon your citizen is hiding is worth more than your entire planet's economy. We're coming to take what's rightfully ours. Stand aside or share Morrison's fate. The broadcast caused panic. Half the planet thought Nightshade should be handed over to avoid conflict. The other half was angry at Cooper's nerve. The Morrison family's protection order was suddenly under intense question. Jake watched the news reports with growing dread. They're going to give you up, he told Nightshade. To save themselves. The dragon pressed closer to Jake, scales shifting to protective red. Nightshade wasn't afraid of Cooper. He was afraid of being separated from Jake. But then something unexpected happened. Earth's military made a decision. Admiral Patricia Hayes, a tough veteran, gave a press conference that changed everything. I've reviewed the evaluation findings, Admiral Hayes announced. Nightshade poses no threat to Earth. He is, in fact, a thinking being who has committed no crimes and deserves the same protections we'd give any citizen. Therefore, Earth's position is this: Nightshade is under our protection. Any attempt to forcibly take him will be treated as an act of war. The declaration sent shockwaves through the galaxy. A small planet like Earth standing up to mercenary fleets? It was unprecedented. Randy Cooper's response was to attack. His ships engaged Earth's defense forces in orbit, confident their better firepower would win. But Earth had been a spacefaring species for 70 years now, and they'd learned some tricks. The battle was brief and decisive. Earth's forces, fighting to protect one of their own, dismantled Cooper's fleet piece by piece. Cooper himself was captured when his ship's engines were disabled and he was boarded by Marines. Jake watched the battle from the Morrisons' living room, Nightshade curled protectively around him. When it was over, when Cooper was in custody and his people scattered, Jake finally allowed himself to believe it was truly finished. We're safe, he whispered to Nightshade. You're safe. The dragon's answering purr could be felt through the entire house. The aftermath brought unexpected changes. Galactic opinion about void-born dragons began to shift as more people learned about Nightshade. The dragon story, from abandonment to adoption to becoming Earth's most famous resident, captured hearts across multiple species. Scientists who studied the evaluation data started questioning other cursed species. If the legends about void-born dragons were wrong, what other prejudices were built on false foundations? A movement began slowly at first, to re-examine ancient superstitions with modern understanding. The Silvari formally apologized for their treatment of Nightshade and invited Jake and the dragon to visit their home world. The invitation was carefully worded, but it represented a big step. Other species began reaching out, curious rather than fearful. Jake's family became unlikely celebrities. Claire Morrison found herself giving interviews about what it was like having a dragon in the house. He's very tidy, she'd tell reporters. Better than my sons ever were. And he does the dishes without being asked. Henry Morrison published papers about Nightshade's abilities, working directly with the dragon to understand void-born biology. The research attracted attention from scientists across the galaxy. many of whom admitted they'd always been fascinated by void-born dragons, but too afraid to say so publicly. Kevin Morrison started a social media account showing Nightshade's daily life. Videos of the dragon learning to surf, helping in the garden, and playing fetch with the neighbors' dogs became viral sensations. The account's description was simple. See the dragon they said was cursed. Judge for yourself. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Jake and Nightshade were summoned to Geneva for a historic event.